Burnout is a very real problem in business and entrepreneurship. How do you multiply and increase your efforts, your energy, your productivity, and all the things you want to do in your business without whacking out your lifestyle or burning out? This is a real problem if you're a high performer. All world champions I have ever modeled, it's true in sports, medicine, psychology, name any field. All the top performers renew themselves better than all the rest. There have actually been studies done on tennis players where they video them in between shots, and the winningest tennis players literally are doing these micro things where they're renewing themselves, and the ones that lose more are frustrated, distraught in the tiny gap. So there is more than enough evidence to show that renewal is crucial. Also, without doing renewal, what I call entrepreneurial renewal, how could you increase your effort and output? Renewal is the answer. In this video, I'm going to show you a 5-step formula for doing world-class renewal that I guarantee will allow you to bounce back into your business with more vibrancy, more energy than ever before, so you can get more done. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, we like that. Let's get started. Step 1 is to renew yourself a certain way. There have been studies done that show that not only do peak performers renew themselves regularly and at the important times in what they're doing, but they renew themselves a certain way. And what is that way? So it's basically to renew yourself in a 3-point fashion. Basically, every time you take a break and do renewal on purpose, you want to renew physically, emotionally, and mentally. Think of it like this. Think of a laptop or a computer where you begin to close the top of the laptop, but it doesn't quite close all the way. Maybe you renew physically and emotionally, but like me, maybe you're making a mistake. I was renewing on those two, but not renewing mentally. During my breaks, I would be solving problems in my mind. So I wasn't really giving my mind a break. So the secret is to renew mentally, physically, and emotionally, all three. What that does is cause the laptop cover to close all the way. And we all know if you have a computer, once you've closed it and really turned it off and it reboots, all kinds of problems go away, right? The cache clears and different things happen. And depending upon how it's programmed, all kinds of good things can happen. But they won't happen until it's completely closed and then opened again. It's rebooted. So renewal, when it's done properly, is like that. So this first key is to always practice renewing mentally. What's your mind doing? Are you giving it a rest? Emotionally, are you worrying about stuff during your renewal break? Because that's not going to work. And of course, physically. So on the mind renewal, one of the great secrets is to tell your subconscious mind, no more problem solving for 20 minutes or however long your renewal period is. And give it the habit, assign it, stopping problem solving. One of the reasons this is so key is that as knowledge workers, in many cases, it's our job, especially as entrepreneurs, to solve all kinds of problems. It's kind of the journey of entrepreneurship itself, it could be said. So the idea is we want to give ourselves a break from problem solving. Sometimes it's really helpful to just tell your subconscious mind, no problems for 15 minutes, and let your mind rest. The same thing applies on the physical and emotional levels. Make sure you're getting all 3 points of renewal. Years ago when I started practicing this and teaching it, I would write a triangle on my calendar when I wanted to schedule a renewal routine. And, because I was working really hard, I was in there. And then the triangle was to remind me all 3 points need to be done correctly for that laptop to reboot. Okay? So there it is. Step 1, renew on these 3 levels, and it's a completely different way to renew yourself entirely. Step two is when you work, work. When you play, play. And actually schedule times to be completely, totally out of your business. You know, I talk about modeling world-class salespeople. One of the first companies to hire me hired me to model a world-class, like a guy outselling everyone in a 40, 50 person sales force. He was outselling everybody almost 10 to 1. Well, what I did was bring in salesperson after salesperson, not knowing who the outstanding performer was. And I asked a series of questions with the executive looking over my shoulder. And as these salespeople came in, I asked this question along with others. I said, how do you renew yourself? Because I knew at that point, world champions all renew themselves phenomenally. And every single one of them would look at me, their eyes will go up to the left, they look up to the right. Basically, in NLP, we know they're searching through the modalities. They don't know how they renew themselves. And one of the guys, I asked, how do you renew yourself? And without missing a beat, he looks at me and goes, oh, I take my family to Cancun every 7 weeks, whether we need it or not. And I just kind of would step back and went, this is the guy outselling everyone, right? And the executive nodded. So there it is. By the way, he also said he never burned out. Most people, they overwork and then they get all bogged down and burned out. Now they've got to step out, renew from their burnout, which takes so much longer, and then they've lost all that time. He never had that problem. Why? World-class people renew themselves better. Think about renewing yourselves regularly, yourself or your team even. Step out completely, and when you work, work. When you play, play. Remember this example of a top champion salesperson outselling everyone else in an entire company. You know, he would not wait, until he started to feel all the symptoms of burnout. He scheduled renewal regularly. So secret number 2 of this 5-step formula is really important. It's to really, when you work, work, get in there. But when you play, play, and completely play, that's kind of how it's said. And I guess another way to say it is schedule your renewal periods that you take outside and away from your business at regular intervals, and let them be enough for you to renew so you're eager to get back in there. And don't wait until you're experiencing burnout, because then the renewal, that be able to get back in there, takes so much time and energy. Have you ever noticed if you take too long a vacation, getting back into the momentum of work can take an entire week? It's not uncommon. So this is another really key, a big key, and that is really make sure that you've scheduled time away from your business for renewal so that it's ahead of your burnout symptoms, and just build it in. That's secret number 2. Secret number 3 is to literally write down all the activities you do that nourish you and energize you, or even just relax you. So the word nourish is one I really like, because nourish doesn't have to mean excited. It can mean rest and relaxation, just kind of the feeling. It can be, a gentler feeling. But you want to list all the activities you can think of that you do or could do that can nourish you. And then list either below it or opposite, after you draw a line, all the activities that don't nourish you. And then really look at them honestly. And what you want to do is start developing your ability to calibrate. That's a state management term. To calibrate, to get more sensitive to what actually does renew you and rejuvenate you and nourish you. What activities and how do you do them in such a way that you feel rejuvenated and renewed, right? And feel nourished. And nourish can apply to spiritual, your soul, your mind, your heart, right? Deeper than just, your head, your mind. And then the same thing on activities that deplete you. So the idea is to list them. I've taken entrepreneurs through this. List them both, and then really begin to calibrate to finer and finer distinctions on each one. And you'll be astonished to realize that you might have been missing little distinctions that are telling you, hey, this is not nourishing me, this is. And then obviously You want to start spending more time. Just immediately choose to do those activities that nourish you. Technique number 4 in this 5-step formula is right from time management. If you watch my videos, you've heard me say it again and again. It's one of the most powerful of all time management principles. It is simply this: if it's important, it goes on your calendar, whatever it is, business and personal, on one calendar right next to each other. It's kind of the dictum of time management. So no matter what it is, if it's important, date night, if it's personal, business meeting, it always should go on your calendar scheduled. So you probably know what I'm building up to. Put renewal on your calendar. Actually schedule on your daily schedule, on your phone, however you organize your time and your planner, whether it's online or on paper or both. Make sure you schedule actual renewal periods. And I recommend you don't call them breaks. Remember, I mentioned that I used to put a triangle on paper when I had my day on paper, and I would put it there to remind me a couple times a day to renew on those 3 points. Remember? So mentally, emotionally, and right? And so when you hit all 3, you're there. Then actually set your phone alarm or whatever it is. So you step out and do 10 minutes of renewal. Scheduling it makes it important. And when it's important, it goes on your calendar. So it's kind of a positive loop. Make sure you schedule renewal. Do it now. The 5th and final part of this formula is to set your clock, your timer for renewal sessions during your workday. So in other words, rather than leaving it to chance, you've scheduled it. That was step number 4. But in this 5th technique, this 5th insight, what we're really doing is conditioning ourselves to do our renewal routine. If you're working at home, you might step into the kitchen or you might step into your garden. But the problem is you can get distracted, and it's a legitimate concern. So this 5th secret is always use an alarm, a phone timer or an actual egg timer. You can get them online, but don't leave it to chance. Set it for 10 or 15 minutes, and when it goes off, you go back in. What happens when you do this is that you get yourself programmed and conditioned to renew yourself in a certain period of time, and your neurology gets trained and conditioned, and that's the idea. What will happen often in the beginning, or at least what happened to me, was I would step out to renew. I'd do my renewal routine. My 15 minutes were up, and I didn't feel quite completely renewed. And it forced me to say, wait a minute, what was I actually doing? What did I need to do to actually close that panel on the laptop, right, so that it actually completely reboots? And it helps you calibrate because you only have so many minutes to renew. You can't waste time. This is a real supercharger of these other 4 techniques. When you condition yourself to do real renewal on the 3 levels that I mentioned, right? Consistently scheduled. And you're also, when you work, when you play, right? And now you do, say, 15-minute renewal breaks in a busy work day. You take this short break, and at 15 minutes, your time's up. You have an alarm, and you now can calibrate. Am I really renewed mentally, physically, emotionally? Calibrate, check on a scale of 1 to 10. What little thing could you have done in that short time for renewal? Occasionally, I would give myself another 15 minutes to work on it, and then I'd feel really renewed, but only in the beginning to condition myself. So I hope you learn from my experiments here. I've coached multiple business owners on this and helped them to get those fine distinctions so that in 15-minute periods, sometimes 10, but personally 15 is recommended, to really renew yourself on all those 3 points, and you're revitalized when you go back in, and you avoid the mistake of getting distracted. If you step out into your garden or you walk around the building at work, it's too easy to, then you drift down and you're down the hallway, whoops, and 45 minutes go by, and now time is not really being utilized to the maximum in terms of productivity. So step number 5 is time your renewal routines to about 15 minutes. Make sure an alarm goes off, and then calibrate, check. How renewed are you on a on a scale of 1 to 10? See if you can get a distinction that you can use to renew yourself better. If you do this, you will literally have built the ability to step out of your workflow for 15 minutes, renew phenomenally well, and be right back in there. It's the ultimate in Pomodoro, where you go in, you work for 45 minutes and you take a 15-minute break. You work for an hour and you take a 10-minute break. Pomodoro is typically described in different ways, but I don't think the intervals matter. It's really about doing a set of focused activity and then stepping out, clearing your mind a little bit, getting your body to move a little bit, making sure you're taking care of yourself, renewing yourself, and then bouncing right back in. So the combination of focus when you're working and this timed renewal routine gets it done. Hey, if you'd like to learn more about my online courses and coaching programs to increase your level of renewal, enjoyment at work, freedom, leverage, scaling, and growing your company, please go to alexandervanburen.com. Check out some of the courses. I have standalone mini courses for you, and I have state-of-the-art coaching programs that I've done for years and years and years that produce results for the vast majority of people in them, and I love doing them. So I hope you'll check it out, alexandervanburen.com. Hey, I want to inspire you and encourage you to grab some of the resources. I'm going to drop some links down below. The first is the new scaling mindset. It's the 5 mindset shifts that act as super catalysts for growing and scaling your business. I also have a program called the Workflow Optimizer. I've literally taken scaling a business and broken it down into some of the singular skills, and I put them into little micro courses, so you don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to sign up for a big high-ticket coaching program. You don't have to build an operating system. All you have to do is build these skills a little bit, one at a time. They have a money-back guarantee, 30 days. If you don't get results, let us know. We'll give you your money back. The first one is all about optimizing the workflows in your business, and the other one is even more amazing. I take the mindset shifts to the next level, and then I added the actual fundamental skill for scaling of being able to identify the finest opportunities for scalable growth that exists on the playing field and the board right now for you and your company. Think about having these 2 skills. So, it's unique. I think growing and scaling can be really overwhelming, and what I've done is break it down into bite-sized chunks. You can focus on it. You could probably do this first micro course in a week, the second one maybe 2 to 3 weeks, and you have 2 of the most important core skills for scaling a business, and it's just that simple. So check out the links below and enjoy.